Angela Ahimsa, broadcasting live from Toronto, Ontario. And today you're watching Jess TV, streaming worldwide on Roku, Meta, and NCG Television Network, and of course, jessfm.ca. Today's special guest is Eli Martyr, who is a Fruitarian, a wellness educator, a natural philosopher, and a spiritual scientist. He's also a professional stuntman, a lifelong student of gymnastics and martial arts, and the creator of the Freemelon Society. Which his platform is dedicated to unlearning all of the toxic norms and returning to nature's divine design. So his work dives deep into food as a spiritual fuel, detox as a liberation, and sovereignty is a natural birthright. And his YouTube channel is a vibrant educational space where he shares about health, energy, and the simplicity of nature's truths. So today we're going to be diving into diet, disease, and disillusionment, and what it truly means to become a sovereign, awakened human being. So thank you so much, Eli, for joining us today. Would you like to open us up with some sort of breathwork or intention?
So, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Angela. It's always lovely to see you and catch up with you. And of course, now we get to do that and have a little chat at the same time. So this is great. I would say the intention that we want to set for this, if anything, is just connection, all right? Connection to principles, all right? Connection to the natural principles that are in charge of governing your reality. And if you do that, then it's just a cakewalk from there on, right? But we have to have enough knowledge to be able to put ourselves there and have the faith to be able to put ourselves there, which is something that's quite lacking. But once we do, then life becomes a very blissful experience. So
and he needs a fruitcake walk there.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say surrender. Surrender to an intelligence, a loving, intelligent order maker, an architect that has designed this whole game for you. And if you just willingly surrender to that and be able to listen, be willing to listen to what your body says, it will direct you in a wonderful way. But we'll get into all that. So I would say that's how we can orient ourselves for what we're going to talk about.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so to kick us off, just because you have, a very rare dietary philosophy, what was the original spark, and what made you start questioning everything about food, disease, and basically the systems that govern us?
Right. Well, the original spark was just a curiosity, a willingness to investigate the world around me, because I didn't know much about the world around me. And frankly, I was a little embarrassed by it. I didn't know much about anything that I felt truly mattered. And I wanted to correct that. So I started with investigating just the world around me. Okay, what are the major institutions that run things? How does the world work? History was very important for me, so I tried to look at where things come from, who are the architects involved in those industries, and who are the personages that have given us certain mindsets, certain cultural concepts and ideas. Where are these coming from? All that kind of stuff. How different organizations, different societies, subversive societies in many cases, how influential they are in directing the economy and the populace. So anyway, going through that, learning about history, that led me inevitably to health and medicine. I was always interested in health and medicine, primarily health and movement, fitness, because physical fitness has always been part of my life, a very important part of my life. I was, gymnastics and martial arts. I've been a lifelong gymnast, lifelong martial artist, and it's helped me get into the stunt side of the movie industry, like you said earlier. But anyway, so this has always been of interest to me. And in studying history, you come up to the subject of how health and principles of healing have been suppressed and obfuscated and deleted from the picture, all right, from our collective understanding of what these things really mean. And so that was very discouraging and interesting, of course. And the further I went down that rabbit hole, the more I discovered that I was being lied to. The practices that I was involved in, the familiar cultural dietary practices that my family practiced, that my family's ancestors practiced, all of this was premised on not physiological truth, but just tradition and culture. Tradition and culture have nothing to do with what the physiology and the biology dictate. Right? So I had to make that distinction between what I actually am, what my mind is geared to be, and what my culture is, my habit and practice. So once I was able to make that distinction, I simply said, oh, well, I'd better do what I'm supposed to do. And that's when I started slowly making changes in line with what your natural design obligates you to do, right? And obligates you in the direction of how to act and how to proceed. So it was started with history, to answer your question in short, started with history and how the world works. And then when you do that and you connect enough dots, everything is connected. So I saw how health and the medical industry and the obfuscation of health principles fit into the picture. And because that was my interest, being involved in fitness and exercise and whatnot, then I started to focus more on that and discovered that I was implementing incorrect elements into my life. And so I sought to correct that. And now here we are today.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I noticed that just about my own family too. Like they all, well, first of all, most people don't, like most humans only eat about like 100 or know of like 100 different plants that we can consume, and there's so many, right? But like, even when I was traveling, like I was making things for people and they were just so used to a salad, which is, you know, like lettuce and tomato and cucumber, and there's just no imagination to what you can even do with these things. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say, is there an open window or whatnot? Because I don't know if it'll pick up on the stream, but you can hear like wind ruffling in the microphone.
Yeah, I'll go turn that off.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I just didn't want it to mess you up. I didn't know if that was something you can edit around or whatnot.
No, I mean, if it's sound, it's sound. But thank you.
Yeah. No, that's like perfectly clear now. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned that you are a stuntman. I actually have a background in gymnastics too. I don't know if you know that. That was my original foundation, and
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. It's very evident from the way you move that there is a movement vocabulary in your nervous system. Like you can pick it out a mile away. Yeah, it makes sense.
How did you find that this movement shaped your spiritual and nutritional philosophy?
Oh my gosh. Well, at first, I think it was okay. So I think it was the yearning to have physical freedom, right? That was the earliest motivation at the earliest time. Physical freedom. I don't want my body to be able to. I don't want my body to hold me back from doing any kind of joyous thing that I feel impulsively like I want to do. Some environmental obstacle, I should have no problem just getting by the obstacle and doing whatever I need to do. If I'm trapped somewhere, stuck somewhere, and physically there are barriers to my emancipation, I don't want physicality to be a limiting factor. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be just free movement. Very inspired by comic books. So seeing comic book heroes like dance around, flip around, fly around, do all this kind of stuff. That was motivating. So it was the yearning for a physical freedom. That was the original motivation, right? Before I started thinking about any of this other stuff.
I like that. It's actually called
Yeah.
moksha in yoga.
Oh, I see. Yeah, of course. Okay. Okay. Right. Right. So this free flowing, unencumbered movement, right? Not letting the world impede you from expressing a physicality.
Yes.
That was of extreme interest to me. Now, when we're talking about if we take the concept of freedom to its ultimate manifestation, you're talking about a deity, a god of some sort. It's just ultimate freedom, ultimate power. The only reason I mention that is because when you in your life emulate that type of freedom in some way, the feeling you have is rapture, is joy, is this, because you are echoing an aspect, right, of your inheritance, of the highest, of the thing that you come from. That energy is complete freedom. So when we do that in our lives in whatever way, what you experience, your psyche experiences that as extremely pleasurable, as rapture, as joy, as happiness. Okay, freedom. It's very important. So,
I'm a freedom lover.
yeah, you have to be. You have to be. And even people that deny it, they're lying, because your mind is designed in a specific way. It's structured in a very particular way, and you don't have a choice in that matter. Now, you can choose to get on board with that, or you can choose to fight it or deny it with certain types of rigorous authoritative philosophies that just impair your thinking. Yeah, you can do all that, but you can't avoid the consequences. So, to answer your question,
programmed to not believe in freedom.
Yeah, or believe that freedom is something that it's not. I think that's one of the major tools of obfuscation. Tell you something, give you a little bit of truth, wrap it in some truth, but attach a poison pill. Hope you swallow the whole thing, and before you know it, you've just implanted into your subconscious an idea that is informing your behaviors, and you don't know why, and you don't know where. You can't identify it. So, to finishing touches on your question, that was the original motivation, is this like love of physical freedom, but that gave me some semblance of health, and that inspired me to explore other avenues where I could also express that freedom, also experience that freedom. And it migrated into the dietary world, where I'm looking at having complete and utter freedom in terms of my dietary limitations and restrictions, all the conventional trappings that have kind of ensnared food culture. I wanted to be free of that, and so in search of that freedom, I discover principles and use them, harmonize with them, work with them. Don't fight against them. Don't resist them. You can't do that effectively. And so just go with the flow, basically. If a stream is flowing downriver, well, you can try to swim up the river. That works out only to a minor degree, or you can just go with it. All right. And use your creative input to move in some sort of directionality, but with the flow. You can't go against the flow, or at least not well. So anyway, that's basically what I did. I just recognized that there was a flow of life that the physiology and biology reveal to you, and I just got on board with that. Essentially.
So is that what makes you a Freemelon in this world that's addicted to processed food and programming?
You know that the name of the channel, the Freemelon Society, it's premised.
By the way, I think it's so cute.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. It took me a while to come up with it, but once I did get it. It was like, that has to be the one.
Yeah.
Now I'm a fan of history. Okay, so I did a lot of study into secret societies, occult philosophy, all that body of work, and in running up against this particular society, the Freemason Society. Okay, you find them heavily involved all throughout history. and I won't touch on it too much. I don't know how much, I don't know the platform
I
as
love
well.
going down the rabbit hole, but anyways, just continue.
Yeah, but you just whatever, just to keep it simple for now. Anyway, there are societies that are at the helm in directing the flow of ideas and philosophy throughout history, and shaping and molding society. And so you have this institution that seems to be complicit in a lot of it, and it's this what they are. And many societies are a secretive society that is privy to information about reality that is not common. That's it. That's what makes them a secret society. They've sequestered knowledge, and they use that knowledge for their gain at the expense of many.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm thinking of these esoteric kind of occult principles of health that have to do with reality and not superstition or tradition or culture, how nature, God, the architect, has actually fashioned reality, and health has these principles and laws. And so, but they're not very common. So when I'm thinking of a name for my channel, I'm like, okay, I want a channel that is divulging principles of health that are not very common, that only a few people really understand and practice, and it makes them good, and it makes them want to help society. I'm like, okay, it's a secret society, exactly like the Freemason society, except this time we're working towards a very good outlook on, not control and manipulation and that kind of thing. So I'm like, oh my God, Freemelon society. It's the exact antithesis, except, anyway, so it just seemed to fit. And that's kind of the theme of the channel. It's health and wellness and spirituality, but it admittedly, it's something that not too many people practice. It encompasses a body of wisdom about about your reality, about natural laws and principles, and using them to apply to your life, so that you get on board with the creative flow of nature. And when you do that, when you allow nature's intelligence and love to flow through your body, when you allow it and invite it in, then it makes life a very wonderful and joyous event.
Mm-hmm. I think it's perfect. Okay, so there's a controversy around Fruitarianism. What do you think the biggest misconception that a lot of people have, and what is actually, in your opinion, the greatest gift through this lifestyle?
Well, I think the greatest misconception about Fruitarianism is that it is extreme. That is the biggest misconception. The reason people have that conception is because it's different than what they do. But what we do, like I said earlier, is premised in nothing but culture and tradition. And culture and tradition. See, culture and tradition are a curious peculiarity of human beings, because human beings have this mind, this evolved mind. It is a gift, right? We've been given this gift, furnished a gift of very deep conceptual thinking and logic and reason. Our animal brothers and sisters don't have this, or at least they don't have it in a mature form. It's in an immature, undeveloped form. And because of that, you don't put the same obligations on our brothers and sisters in the animal kingdom. Okay, you can't obligate them to that level. Just like you would not obligate a 4-year-old to complex mathematical speculation and philosophical rigors and a workplace environment. You wouldn't do that because they don't have that maturity yet. Okay, so when we're talking about Fruitarianism, then the misconception is that this is something that only a radical mind would come to. It's a conclusion that a radical mind, an obsessive person would do. That's not the case. What is actually fairly ludicrous and crazy are the conventional practices. Drinking milk, for example, is a ludicrous idea.
Yeah.
what have you or I ever in life at any point said, you know, I could really go for a glass of mom's milk as an adult? Like, has that ever, if mom brought you a glass of milk one day, just, you know, at a family gathering, oh, hey, Angela, here's some milk. I just squeezed it in the back for you. How bloody weird would that be? It'd be unbelievably, people would just look at you and just flee the house. Like, these people are weirdos, right? It's ridiculous. But yet, we have a current practice where not only that is not weird, but we go to a different species and anyway, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much right now, but it's a conventional practice where we steal the breast milk from another species and drink it all throughout adulthood, even though every single element of our physiology tells us without question that the relationship to drinking milk is done when you're a kid. Every biological imperative signals that reality, that truth, but yet we adamantly and pig-headedly deny that for the sake of tradition. And it's wrong. It is not correct. It is an incorrect habit. I don't care what the tradition or culture is. It is incorrect. Okay, so getting back to the question then, I'll just wrap it up really quickly. That was an example where people see Fruitarianism as something radical, but really all that's happening is you're eating the type of food that is most biologically harmonious, that is most physiologically harmonious, right? Fruit, nuts and seeds, leafy greens. These are the fruits, or these are the foods for human beings, right? These are the ones that we can tolerate with our physiology, with our palates. And when we're talking about a fruitarian, those fruitarians are just having a higher percentage of fruit in the diet as opposed to leafy greens and nuts and seeds. Really, it's not a scientific term. It's just a colloquial term to help define someone that eats a lot more fruit as a percentage rather than the conventional raw vegan who would probably have a mix of everything in more.
That was actually going to be
balance.
a question of mine. If it's
was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really how you distinguish it. There's not really a distinction. There's not really a distinction. We're all raw vegans. We're all raw foodists. Okay, in raw food world. But if you say you're a fruitarian, then it just means you're having 70, 80% of your stuff is fruit, and then the rest leafy greens, veggies, nuts and seeds. That's it. Okay, so that's not extreme. That is not extreme at all. All that is recognizing what your body is sensitive to and optimized to, and just eating those things. Now, how could that possibly be extreme, considering that every single other example of life on planet Earth, with no exception, do exactly the same or eat in the same relationship? They might eat different foods because they have different biologies, but underneath that is the same law. You eat, form follows function, right? We're designed by an intelligent creator in a certain way, so that predetermines a type of food, and they just do it. Now, animals do this effortlessly because they don't have the freedom of mind that we do, so they're still kind of tied to nature, and nature directs them and pulls them, and they just do the right thing without thinking. But we're different, so we have to choose, and now we can choose to do the opposite if we want to. That's a different thing. We'll get into that after, but that's how I would answer your question. The major stumbling block is that thinking that something like fruitarianism or a raw food lifestyle is extreme, which couldn't possibly be the case, because the same person that makes that argument is also the same person that accepts that the entirety of nature also eats a raw food diet. They accept that, but they have this weird thing when it comes to humans. Oh, that's bizarre. Well, you got a contradiction you have to sort out, right?
Well, yeah, like our ancestors or like the cavemen, they didn't have stoves and ovens and toasters and all of these things. It was raw. Yeah, I mentioned to you that I actually did, like, I have a background in cooking and restaurants and stuff, but then I actually did raw vegan chef training. And that really opened my eyes to just the nutritional benefits of like living enzymes and how plants, they have the biophoton, which is like a memory and I always like to use this example. Like once I left a potato and I forgot about it and I grew another potato from the potato, you know, but if that was a piece of meat and I forgot about it and left it out, like what do you think would grow from that? And so it's like you're eating the essence of life or the essence of death, right? And that takes like, you know, food is more than just like macros, which we've also been programmed to think like, oh, I got to get my proteins in and whatever, but it's also information. And there's a lot of information in those cells and basically that becomes you. And also like, you know, plants are very high density with like water content and that's also important. So
absolutely.
I have a confession. A lot of people know. Okay, so I actually have a fruit phobia, which, you know, I'm veggie, so that's crazy. And it has nothing to do with like sugar content or anything. It stems from my childhood. And,
right.
Yeah, so it's been like, and now because I did the raw vegan chef training, I'm like, I have to eat fruit. But it's like it's such an aversion because it's like a phobia is not rational. You know, it's like if there's blueberries sitting there, I'm like, ooh, like I will not touch them. So I have to mix them in. But it actually came because I'm a winter baby. Like I was born in January. And so when I started eating, it was like spring and I ate a lot of fruits, but it's, they started spraying everything. Yeah. And so I started having an allergic reaction. I'm very sensitive.
Oh, I see.
I'm sensitive to fluoride. I was sensitive to pesticides, but my mom, like people didn't really know that stuff was being sprayed and that it was toxic and stuff. So I remember hearing her say, I think she's allergic to fruit because it would always happen when I ate fruit.
Oh,
like
I see.
She knows.
Yes,
and so in my childhood mind, I'm like, I'm never eating fruit again. And like, I really didn't until I started traveling. And then I realized like how freaking, because it's weird. My family just accepted that they couldn't force me to eat fruit. And everyone's like, you have to eat fruit, it's healthy. I'm like, I eat vegetables and I eat a lot of vegetables. So I'm like a vegetarian, you know, but like more than like it's just vegetables. But anyways, now in order to get past the phobia, like today I'm going to have an acai bowl. I love acai bowl, but it's blended. So it's not like raw fruit in its natural form. Like if it's been changed or something in some way. And like when I went to Argentina, I ordered like a specialty coffee with my girlfriend and she was like, what do you mean you don't eat strawberries? And I felt so stupid. So I ate strawberries. And I was like, okay, it tastes good. Like I realized that and I acknowledged it, but I couldn't get past that it was a strawberry. So I really like I'm working on it. And my sister's actually a hypnotist. So I decided I'm going to try and get her to hypnotize me and we'll do like a before and after. And so I'll like be like this, I'll be a Fruitarianism or too.
Well, and you know, and it's like, I'll always be the first person to say, nobody has to be fruitarian, right? Nobody has to do that, right? You don't have to do that just to be healthy. Yeah, it's almost a type of expression of a raw food life that tends to evolve over time as you introduce more and more simplicity into the diet. Like as the body gets cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, it starts to enjoy food in its natural relationship, which is just one type of food, that's the meal. That is the classic natural relationship to food. Type of food, eat food, right? And that's it. That provides the best and optimal digestion, absorption, elimination that is humanly possible. You cannot top this relationship. It is the relationship that all animals, all organisms are gonna have in their lifestyle if you examine them. Okay. Now, Is it necessary to do that all the time? No, it's not necessary. No, we can play with our food. We can do all these wonderful things. Okay,
I
you
do
don't
recommend
have.
you play with your food.
Yeah. Of course. So in your case, it wouldn't be that you have to go fruitarian, of course, no. But all you'd want to do is you just be incremental with it, right? Progression
Yeah.
and slow incrementalism is the order of nature, right? You just
Mhm.
slowly get your nervous system accustomed to simpler and simpler foods or meals, and the more you repeat, honestly, it's no different than exercise. This kind of idea of repetition, it echoes itself in every way. You just, the
Mhm.
more you repeat a behavior, the stronger that behavior will come. And then one day you'll wake up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm eating a pear, and it was just very natural, and that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I give, you give those things time, and you understand principles, but you always have to account for where we're all at. We all have our particular troubles, difficulties, weaknesses, strengths. Everybody has those. Everybody. So you just work with those, right? You work on the things that we're not as strong in, and exploit the things that we are strong in.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
part of the art of health reform. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But at the highest level, you have your unshakable principles, right? Your imperturbable laws and concepts, and then you build a foundation on that, and then you slot yourself in wherever we need strengthening, and that's the best we can do. Right?
Yeah. I could never give up vegetables, anyways.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't.
So you're talking about like at the highest level. Do you believe that fruit carries a higher vibration, and like how does that affect our consciousness and our clarity or even our dreams?
So fruit is the highest evolved form of vegetation on the planet. Okay, it's very, very highly evolved. It's like
Ooh, I like
it's
that.
it's the ultimate maturity of the plant. It is, the fruit is the final destination of the plant. That is what it is ultimately. All of the seed and the growth and the leaves and the all of that is this grand orchestration. It's like a pre-ritual to the fruit. That's really what the important thing is. The fruit is the only thing of the tree that it is willingly giving and sacrificing to everybody else. That is the gift. Everything else is part of the actual tree structure or plant structure itself, where if you use them, right, if you take away, or you take pieces of the leaves or the roots or whatever, you take from the plant potential, right? You remove potential from the plant, right? You remove something from the plant. But a fruit is different. When you take fruit from the tree, you don't remove any potential from the tree. In fact, you contribute to its development, right? When you take, so the fruit, eating the fruit puts you in the perfect symbiotic relationship with that plant. Whereas if you eat any other part of the plant, it's a slightly imperfect relationship, right? But by eating the fruit, you complete the cycle in this perfect unified whole, right? You contribute to the tree's development and its proliferation. You nourish yourself, and everyone's happy. But if I hack down the tree and just eat the bark and the root, then no more fruit's going to come. That's for sure. And now I've ruined the potential of the tree. Now that doesn't mean that's wrong. I'm just saying that okay, to answer your question now, what I'm getting at. Yeah, well, so what I'm getting at by giving that context first is that human beings are a very, very, very highly evolved life form on planet Earth. People like to argue that, for some reason, and it's a testament to our willful naivete. Look around you. Do you see any other organism with the type of absolute mental splendor, cognitive splendor that human beings do? It's a very rare thing. We're one of the exceptions here on the planet that has that ability to command the elements of nature in the way that we do, to create concepts, to integrate our experiential data, create abstract concepts, and use them to inform and codify our reality. These are things that the animals can't do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the point is, we are a very highly evolved form of organism. We are a very mental, very cognitive life form. That type of energy requires the most highly evolved form of nutrition to satisfy it, to fuel it. The water-rich, fiber-rich, phytonutrient-rich, biophoton-rich food that is inherent in a highly evolved and wonderful form in the fruit. And there is a symbiotic relationship there where the fruit is the most highly evolved type of plant, furnishing the more highly evolved life form. You'll also find that the most highly evolved intellectual life forms on the planet, right, at least in the terrestrial mammalian form, are the anthropoid apes, right? The apes, the ape kingdom. The anthropoid apes, the ones without tails, the ones that are most like us, well, we're also very much like them. Like our physiologies are almost indistinguishable. If we're talking about bonobos, for example, our systems are almost identical to one another. And if you look at what they eat, of the apes, they eat a higher percentage of fruit in their exclusively raw diet than some of the other apes. Gorillas, for example, will eat a lot more roughage and vegetables. Mm-hmm. They're also not nearly as intelligent. So when it comes to human beings who have a very, very similar physiology, it would behoove of us to take notes. Mm-hmm. For some reason, we don't like to do that, and recognize in our design that fruit does tend to work best in our system, and it furnishes our mind in a wonderful way. You mm-hmm. don't get the waste products and the toxic metabolites and the indigestible elements that you find in many other types of food choices out there. A lot of other food choices you could be making leave bad residues in the body from imperfect, unoptimized digestion. But these things are not a reality when you eat the simple raw foods that you're supposed to eat, that harmonize with you. You eat mm-hmm. fruit, you don't get any of that. You get this pure, clean digestion that has no waste products. There are waste products, but they're not toxic to you. Mm-hmm. I'm talking water and fiber, like cellulose. These just fly out of your system, clean, no smells, no fermentation, no nothing, no gas, no bloating, nothing, just clean, right? So how does that help your mental functioning? Well, I mean, this is a world of difference now, because we're talking about the difference between a consciousness that's in a body that is free from impurities, and that consciousness has uninterrupted channels to express itself. Mm-hmm. When we eat things that load and pile and burden our tissues with all of these things like fats and toxic rancified oils and cholesterols and all of these waste products associated with the types of pesticides, all of it. You weigh yourself down with those, it's going to be difficult for your mental functioning to be optimal, mm-hmm. right? Because you cannot separate your bodies from one another. You cannot separate your physical body from your emotional body and from your mental body. This is where a bit of esoterica and a bit of occult principles helps. I'm not going to get into it fully because I want you to move on, and you have other questions. But in order to think, you need a body. In order to move and fight and behave physically, I need a physical vehicle in which to do that. In order to emote, you need an emotional body in order to do that. People don't recognize that because they can't see them. But I also can't see the internet in my hand, but it's there, right? So it just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So anyway, you need bodies in order to have these functions, and these things all exist in one unified way in this thing that we call a life, right? Your physical, emotional, and mental body. You can't affect one body without affecting the other, and vice versa, right? People think very well. They go on spiritual retreats and they learn how to meditate and they learn how to think properly, and suddenly physically they're healthier, right? It's because they've affected one body and it trickles down onto the other. So you can't affect one without the other. This is why eating cleanly is an obligation that you have as a highly evolved organism here on planet Earth, right? You have to take care of yourself. So that's, in a nutshell, without being specific, that's how I would describe how your thinking and your emotional control would be affected by your physical, because you can't extricate these bodies from one another. They're all the same unified whole. Yeah,
I totally agree. Everything is connected. And like you mentioned, the emotional body, because we store trauma in the body. And when you go through something emotional, like it'll manifest as like inflammation or whatever. Right. And one thing you mentioned that I didn't really plan even to get into today, but you mentioned phytonutrients. And I actually created a course called Eat the Rainbow, because, when people know I don't eat meat, they're like, oh, how do you get your protein? And I always say it's not about the protein. I'm more concerned with getting the full spectrum of phytonutrients, which is all of the colors, because that's where you get all of the benefits, like anti-aging, your eyesight improves, so your skin glows, and it's like everything that matters isn't even taught. Like, it's not on the label. Like, when do you ever see, any of those ingredients on it? We have like the basic, and that's part of the programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And part of the problem with this is that the average person is not a philosopher. They haven't taken some time to really study how to think about things in general, period. What we do is we play this game of mass obfuscation and mass conflating of terms and ideas and how do I say this? Using terms in a different way than another person is using them, and it breeds confusion. We're just not disciplined with organizing our concepts and communicating ideas effectively. Yeah, by design, right? Yeah. And so you'll get these people that tell you something like that, all right, that debate with you and give you a hard time, saying, oh, okay, you need meat for protein. Okay. They're at some level correct in saying that you need protein, but they don't realize what they're saying. They don't understand what they're really saying. Yes, protein is necessary. Yes, of course, you can't function without protein. What they're not forthcoming about is that everything has protein. You can't avoid it. All right? And you don't need protein as a solid structure because nobody can use it. That same meat eater has never used an animal protein ever once in his entire existence, or her entire existence, not once. You can't. It's impossible. It's a physiological impossibility. If your body does have an intact protein that makes it through the digestive system, that protein is a foreign invader and it causes an inflammatory response. Your body does not want intact proteins making it down into the digestive system. That's a problem. That's a huge that is gut inflammation. That's gut dysbiosis. That's all the problems that we say we don't want. The only thing your body can use are simple amino acids. Your body will construct its own proteins under the guidance of its own laws, and it will take the building blocks and form its own structures. But if another foreign structure comes in, it has to labor to break it all apart. So you might as well avoid that whole step of the process and save your body an inordinate amount of energy instead of having to break down already complicated structures into this building block pool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You could just eat the foods that satisfy the building block pool, and now you saved yourself whatever amount of energy, because now your body can just take that and build its own proteins,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you're going to have to do anyway, even if you eat the complicated proteins from animal products. Except this time, now you have to squander a huge percentage of your energy breaking all that apart, and all that produces waste products and blah 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 blah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not wrong when they say you need protein. They're right. What they're not telling you is that you need amino acids, not
Mm-hmm.
protein. And you get all the full spectrum amino acids from all your plant foods, even the fruits, even the simple leafy greens like iceberg lettuce. You're a full spectrum amino acids, right? We're talking about anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's very difficult to be protein deficient if you eat and are not starving.
Mm-hmm.
Very difficult. Right? As long as you eat and you're eating whole foods, let's make that determination as well. If we're eating whole foods, okay, and we're eating so that we're not starving and we're satiated by the end of the day, very difficult to avoid or very difficult to become protein malnourished. It's not going to happen. Protein starved, you're going to get the protein you need. But yeah, so they're just not recognizing that it's in everything, and in the plant foods you're getting it in an amino acid form, in a simpler form, which is the form that your body needs anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it starts to be just very irresponsible. People like to defend their positions and feel comfortable with what they're doing. And so at one level, they're not lying to you, but they're just not coming at you with all of the context that is necessary to make the correct decision in that position.
And you mentioned like it causes inflammation. So the biggest sources of inflammation are the North American diet. It's wheat, meat, sugar, dairy, and alcohol. And like that's really like what everybody. If you don't drink alcohol, everybody's like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" You know, and like you don't eat bread. And it's not even so much the bread; it's more of like the glyphosate that's been sprayed on it. But because I mean, I can eat sourdough bread, for example. But okay, so just one final question before we close up.
Okay.
You mentioned that you know, when you eat fruit, it's basically like its own purification. And not everybody is eating enough fruit or any fruit. What do you think that the role of detoxing plays, and like how important is it to us? And is it like an act of spiritual devotion?
In the ancient world, originally, the scripture, the body of wisdom that we were taking from, at least the learned class, the learned priest class was taking from, was the human body, because they recognized and saw that in the human body were encoded all the laws, the grand primordial laws of creation, and the proportions, the formula, the chemicals, the mixtures, the attitudes of the psyche, all of it, everything about the human body enshrined principles of reality and of nature that they used as a textbook, basically, just like we would use a textbook today and learn things from it. Well, they would simply dive into the human body and examine it with a very, very scrutinizing eye, sometimes even in a meditative state, right? In an astral state, examine the human body, work on it in that way, see what's happening. Okay, so my point is that people like to disrespect the physical part of ourselves and not give that the reverence that is deserved. We like to go to the higher planes. Oh, your crown chakra only. Focus on that. The highest only. That would be half the spiritual battle. You're missing it. The lower things are just as spiritual. They are the exact same spirituality as the higher, just a slower rate, right? A slower vibratory rate, but just as worthy of your reverence. Mm-hmm. We miss this picture when we disrespect the physical. And if you want it to be as spiritual as possible, you would have to take all of your reverence for everything that's higher and throw all of that into the physical as well, and respect the hell out of that, because that is a gift from God, a gift from nature. Nature who's hoping that you treat it as the gift that it is. And when we disrespect it, we cannot expect that we're going to have the highest levels of spiritual attainment, because the vehicle through which consciousness is supposed to be acting has now been muddied by the consequences of our sins here, our dietary sins. Mm-hmm. So it would be irrational, illogical, not reasonable to expect spiritual development if we can't even get the foundational stones laid out in the right formation, in the right configuration. You need to clean up your temple, clean it up, dust it out, right? Wash the floors, clean. Yeah, you have to make this a pristine house for the highest before the highest can hope to express itself. If you're playing a saxophone, you're a wonderful saxophone player. One day you play this brilliant tune, great. You put your saxophone down on the couch or whatever. You go do something else. The next day you return to it. I want to make another beautiful tune. You go and you pick up your saxophone, and you blow into it, and it goes. Like, what the hell happened? You find that some jackass has stuffed gum and camel excrement and mole blubber in your saxophone. I don't know, just this unholy mix of whatever substances. And someone's jammed that into all the crevices, all into the pipes. Okay, now you as the musician, okay, the creator, who wants to play a beautiful tune, can you play a beautiful tune with your saxophone stuffed with camel excrement and whatever I said, mole blubber and all? Can you do that? You can't. You can't. Because the instrument is now clogged up with all sorts of impurities that will not allow the beautiful music to be played. And so if you want beautiful music to be played through your body, by your body, right, you need to clean it out. And it's only when that happens do you get this marvelous relationship between the lower and the higher, the alchemical wedding. The higher and the lower coming together, right? Or the dualistic principle, the positive and the negative coming together, the male and the female coming together and creating this wonderful thing, right? These are all grand principles of reality that when you start to play with, you start to appreciate how important it is for you to revere your physical body. And this is the reverence that has been completely lost. We have look what people, I mean, I'm not even going to go into it. Look what we do to our physical bodies. It's just this orgy of disrespect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is.
It really is. Yeah.
I like the way you put that. It was very sacred Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you so much, Ellie, for sharing your wisdom, your clarity, and your unapologetic truth with all of us. Your work is not only empowering, but it's also helping reprogram humanity for health, vitality, and true Freemelon freedom.
Hey, I love it. I love it.
To those listening and watching, whether you're a carnivore or even if you don't eat fruit, if you felt a spark of resonance or rebellion within you today, follow it. Reclaim your vitality, question everything, and return to nature's simplicity. And you can find Ellie on YouTube at the Freemelon Society and follow him on Instagram at Freemelon Ellie. Is that correct?
Yeah. Freemelon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. And he shares educational videos, programs, his upcoming offerings. He's actually just going to be flying into the UK to be doing a speech at a retreat there, which sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, congratulations. If this conversation stirred something within you, please share it, subscribe, and you can follow the Chakra Goddess, which is me, for more transmissions on food freedom and the full spectrum awakening. So thank you so much. Until next time, eat the light, detox the lie, and keep feeding your chakras.
We have amazing news for you.
We're outside, not in the building, and the sand is out here on the beach. We're here to talk about who got next hour on Jess TV.
Hey, and I know it is at Tuesday.
I guess.
You know, wait, let me do that. And I know it is at every Tuesday. 10 o'clock. Okay.
Oh, wow, yes. You can catch Demasha with the Zip Mouth Motivation Show. You can catch Jay Cabrera and Vibing with Jay. You can catch Yaya with
Yes.
Reggae with Yaya
all the time.
And we can't forget who got next on the Artist Video Show. So stay tuned every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. right here on Jess TV.
Yes. It's your man
And your girl.
and your gal.
That's right.
All right.
Peace. Let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun.
Yes. All right.
Oh, sorry, membership's child. Just calm yourself down. Bye.